Collective nouns for animals can be fascinating. There are the regular ones, of course, like an army of ants and a pride of lions. But I bet you didn't know that ugly is a collective noun for a certain animal. An ugly of, which is this poor creature? Watch the video to find out. And if you haven't subscribed to the English Nut yet, please do so right now. Thanks. A collective noun is a word for a group of things, ideas, people or animals that are thought of as a single entity, like a cricket team which has many players, or a bundle of sticks, or a block of flats. But this video is about groups of animals and the fascinating collective nouns associated with them. While some may be familiar, such as a herd of animals, there are other unusual ones such as a murder of crows. When these terms were coined centuries ago, they may have seemed logical. They were based on a characteristic of the animal, real or imagined. A crow sitting on a roof was supposed to presage death in the house, hence a murder of crows. Of course, now it sounds funny to us. There are other terms, some of which are more recent, that sound apt, such as a crash of rhinos, from their habit of charging at anything unfamiliar. So here we go with collective nouns for animals from A to Z. And by animals, I mean the whole animal kingdom that includes birds, insects, and everything else. Do keep watching. It'll help you improve your vocabulary, impress your friends, and generally have fun. Let's start with A. A shrewdness of apes. This collective noun was already in use 500 years ago. At that time, shrewdness meant wickedness, and medieval naturalists noticed a playful naughtiness in apes, and that's how they came up with the term. Today, shrewdness means astuteness or intelligence, and coincidentally, scientists now know that apes possess these qualities. B. A cloud of bats. When a whole lot of them are flying above you, it can seem like an ominous dark cloud. You can also say a colony of bats or a camp of bats. An obstinacy of buffaloes. Maybe this term was coined because these animals are solid and heavy, and if they feel like it, they will walk out into the middle of the road and obstinately refuse to move out of the way of traffic. A kaleidoscope is a device that uses mirrors and bits of colored glass to create exquisite symmetrical patterns that could remind one of butterfly wings, hence a kaleidoscope of butterflies. C. Traditionally, groups of people traveling across the desert were called caravans. They often used camels as a mode of transport, so a group of camels came to be known as a caravan of camels. Do you prefer dogs or cats? I like dogs more. Probably why I like the fact that a group of cats is called a destruction of cats, particularly a group of wild cats. A group of domesticated cats is called a clouder. They can also be called a glaring or a clutter of cats. An all-male group of adult cheetahs is called a coalition of cheetahs. These animals stick together sometimes for life and only move away temporarily to mate. If they get separated, they call out to each other till they are reunited. An intrusion of cockroaches. Nobody wants them in the house. It is believed that cockroaches will survive even a nuclear holocaust. So it is not humans but cockroaches that shall inherit the earth. Not good. Ever seen crocodiles basking on a riverbank? I have. They look like they're asleep, but don't go near them to find out. Let the bask of crocodiles continue to bask. D. A team of dolphins. Dolphins are very social. They live in teams or pods of a dozen or more members. Highly intelligent creatures, they communicate with clicks, whistles, and squeaks. Scientists have debated whether these sounds constitute a proper language or not. This is one of two collective nouns for animals which are not real that I mentioned in this video. A wing of dragons. It conjures up fantastical visions of an imagined past. The other imaginary creature is coming up later in the video, so do keep watching. E. A large formal gathering of people is called a convocation. A convocation of eagles is probably not that formal. It is also called a congress of eagles or an eyrie of eagles. Eyrie is actually a word for the nest of an eagle, which is often built in a high, inaccessible place such as a cliff. A memory of elephants. Elephants are known for their incredible memories. They never forget an elephant that they have met before, no matter how long ago. They also remember paths to sources of water and food. This power of recall is key to their survival. F. I have seen the extraordinary sight of a pink lake. Actually, it was a lake covered with hundreds of flamingos, and then they flew up into the sky like a pink cloud. No wonder a group of these birds is called a flamboyance of flamingos. A group of foxes is called a skulk. Skulk is derived from a Scandinavian word. It means to be in hiding, waiting to ambush. Foxes are known to lurk, so it fits. G. A tower of giraffes. Giraffes are the tallest animals in the world and can grow to a height of 18 feet. They literally tower over their surroundings and other animals. An implausibility of nouns. Not only does this animal have an unusual name that starts with a silent G, it also looks unusual. To me, it has the appearance of a prehistoric animal that one might find in ancient cave paintings. Quite implausible in the modern world. A whoop of gorillas and a glint of goldfish are two other collective nouns starting with G that are quite fitting. H. A bloat of hippopotamuses or hippopotami. Hippopotamuses, hippopotami, two plural forms of hippopotamus. The average male hippo weighs just under 3,600 kilograms and is covered in layers of fat, so it does look kind of bloated. The term first appeared in print in C.E. Hare's 1939 Hunting and Fishing Manual, The Language of Field Sports. You can also say a thunder of hippopotamuses, which is what they might sound like if they all start running together. Spotted hyenas are called laughing hyenas because they make a loud, high-pitched sound that resembles hysterical human laughter. No wonder the group noun for them is a cackle of hyenas. I. A group of iguanas is called a mess because they lie intertwined in the sun and end up looking like a mix-up of heads and bodies and tails. They are cold-blooded, so they sunbathe together to regulate their body temperature. A horde of insects. You can also call them a rabble of insects or a swarm of insects. J. Jaguars are leopard-like big cats that are native to the Americas. Perhaps the fact that they prefer to live in shadowy forests has given rise to the collective noun a shadow of jaguars. Have you ever been smacked by a jellyfish? I've been touched by them in the sea, and I can tell you it stings. K. A kindle of kittens sounds so much sweeter than a litter. Kindle comes from the Old English word kindle, which means offspring. A mob of kangaroos is led by a boomer, an adult kangaroo, who is in power for a short amount of time before being challenged by a rival boomer who becomes the new mob leader. Sounds like the underworld. L. An exaltation of larks. The term dates back to the 15th century book of St. Albans, which was also the first book to be printed in colour in England. There is also a contemporary book written by James Lipton titled An Exaltation of Larks. It is a compendium of collective nouns. A conspiracy of lemurs, a leap of leopards, and a plague of locusts are three other collective nouns that are quite descriptive. Lemurs actually conspire with each other to outwit their predators. Leopards leap onto their prey, and large groups of locusts are truly a plague. In the Bible, one of the 10 plagues is a plague of locusts. Many parts of the world recently experienced one. These hordes of mutant grasshoppers eat every bit of crop, foliage and blade of grass in their path. Not a pleasant bunch of insects. M. More fun than a barrel of monkeys is an English phrase that means amusing. You can say that that person or that film was more fun than a barrel of monkeys. Presumably this comes from the fact that a troop or barrel of monkeys gets up to all sorts of antics. A scourge of mosquitoes. Mosquitoes are a scourge. They cause many deadly diseases like malaria and dengue. A baron of mules. A mule is the offspring of a male donkey and a female horse or mare. A mule cannot have babies though. It is sterile. Barren is another word for sterile. N. A prey of nightingales. You can also say a watch, a match, or an enchantment of nightingales. Fun fact, male nightingales stay up half the night singing to attract a mate. Newts look like a cross between a frog and a lizard. These unusual creatures have the ability to regrow lost limbs and damaged organs. There is no established collective noun for them, but I think a knot of newts has a nice alliteration. And knot is already a collective noun for toads, which are the newt's fellow amphibians. O. The Chronicles of Narnia by C.S. Lewis were amongst my most favorite books growing up. These 1950s children's books describe a parliament of owls that get together to discuss matters of the mythical land called Narnia. Author C.S. Lewis adapted the Parliament of Owls from the poem by Chaucer called The Parliament of Fowls. P. Parrots can create an uproar, hence a pandemonium of parrots. An option is a psittacosis of parrots. That's with a P that, unlike the parrots, is silent. Psittacosis is a disease that afflicts parrots and can be transmitted to humans as well. Not a pleasant collective noun. A prickle of porcupines. Bang on. As you'd know if you had ever been attacked by one, let alone a group of them. Imagine a group of peacocks with their tail feathers on display. It would certainly be an ostentation of peacocks. Q. Quails are a family of birds. The California quail is one of them, and it is the state bird of California. Battery, flush, rout, knob, bevy, covey, and shake are some of the other collective nouns for quails. I like shake too. A shake of quails. R. An unkindness of ravens. Ravens aren't exactly friendly fowl. They can gang up on their prey or other animals that enter their space. And if you are an ornithophobe, someone who fears birds, you might also call them a conspiracy of ravens. Especially if you've watched Alfred Hitchcock's film, The Birds. A stubbornness of rhinoceroses. It is true that rhinos can be stubborn. They might even refuse to make room for the elephants at the watering hole. S. I've included a whole lot of collective nouns for animals starting with S, just because I like the words. A harem conjures up visions of the Arabian Nights, but you have to replace those fairy tale images with that of a group of female seals and one dominant male. Then you get a harem of seals. I would shiver if I came face to face with a group of sharks, wouldn't you? Maybe because of this reaction that sharks produce, that they are called a shiver of sharks. Because a shark would certainly not be the one shivering at the sight of us. As a means of self-defense, skunks spray out an incredibly smelly sulfurous chemical from their backside. Skunk spray is so smelly you can smell it downwind more than 5 kilometers away. One skunk is bad enough. A stench of skunks would be unbearable. Snails slither. So it's odd that a group of them is called a walk of snails. Sparrows used to be ubiquitous at one time, meaning they were everywhere. Probably why a group of sparrows is called a ubiquity of sparrows, though now it is rare to see even one in some of our cities. I just like the alliteration of this one, a squad of squid. T. Since tigers tend to be solitary creatures, a grouping of them would certainly feel like an ambush of tigers. You could also call them a streak of tigers. To turn turtle is to overturn, but a turn of turtles is a group of turtles. Other collective nouns for it are a bale of turtles or a dole of turtles. A blessing of unicorns. It turns out that there are group nouns for imaginary creatures too. Thank goodness, because these creatures came to the rescue when I was struggling to find real animals with the initial U and their collective nouns. Of course, there is the Ugandan shrew, and its collective noun would probably be a whisker of Ugandan shrews. Coming back to unicorns, they're supposed to bring good fortune. So if you saw a number of them, it truly would be a blessing. V. For humans, a wake is a vigil you hold for someone who has passed away. For vultures, it is a little gorier. A wake of vultures refers to a group feeding on a carcass. When they are resting on a tree, a group of vultures is called a committee. And when flying, a kettle. W. An ugly of walruses. There it is. So it's the walruses that got saddled with this unfortunate collective noun. A bit unfair, I think. It is true that walruses are not the most beautiful of creatures, but neither are they the ugliest. Manatees, which are probably uglier, were mistaken for mermaids by early sailors, so who knows? Anyway, if you don't want to offend a bunch of walruses, you can refer to them as a huddle of walruses instead. There are also a pod of whales, a pack of wolves, and a bike of wasps. No, these wasps don't ride bikes. Bike is an old term for swarm. X. What's an animal name that starts with X? Well, there's X-ray fish for one. A group of them would be a school of X-ray fish. Then there's the Arctic gull known as a zine. The associated collective noun would be a flock of zines. The Zucaneb robber frog is a Guatemalan frog. Since the collective noun for frogs is army, we could refer to a group of these critters as an army of Zucaneb robber frogs. So that's 3 X's. Bet you thought I wouldn't be able to come up with a single example under X. Ha! Y. Yaks are the backbone of Tibet. These shaggy animals have handlebar horns and huge lung capacity. The latter means that they can carry heavy loads at high altitude, making them valuable pack animals. The butter and cheese produced from yak milk sustain Tibetans through the harsh winters. There is no exotic group noun for a herd of yaks. They are simply a herd of yaks. Nevertheless, I include this example because yaks are remarkable animals and because there are not too many other animals whose names start with Y. Z. With their dramatic black and white coats, these creatures are truly dazzling. You can also use the collective noun zeal or cohort with these animals, but a dazzle of zebras sounds so much better. And that brings us to the end of this dazzling video on collective nouns for animals. There are many more, of course, too many to list here. Do you have a favorite one that I have missed? Do mention it below. Oh, and before I go, the collective noun for nuts is cluster. A cluster of English nuts. Imagine that. I'm the English nut. Bye for now. Like this content? Do subscribe. Like, comment, share, tag your friends from one English nut to another. Thank you.